The Sony FX3 was designed to be able to use without a cage. However, I think it might be worth picking one up. Hello, my name is Jonathan Palfrey. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe as always, as it massively helps me out. Today I want to talk to you about the tilter cage for the Sony FX3. This is something that I picked up recently and have been using on a few shoots, and initially I wasn't going to be buying a cage for the FX3. After all, it is sort of designed to be able to use without a cage. It's got all the mounting points you could possibly want, it's very rugged, it's very well made, so why would you want to add a cage to a camera like this? Although the FX3 does have plenty of mounting points, they are in slightly awkward and odd locations, making them kind of a bit limited about actually how often you can actually use them. Yes, you could add a cold shoe or attach something via them, but it's probably going to end up blocking one of the ports on the side or get in the way of other buttons on the camera as well. This is where a cage like the tilter comes in. And the reason I went for the tilter is mainly because of this. The hand grip that they've attached onto the side. And I have to say, this makes a big difference to using the camera. My one real issue with holding the FX3 really just came down to the fact that it felt quite slippery in the hand. When using larger video cameras in the past, I've always been quite used to having a hand strap on the camera, so it's quite nice to have something like that on a smaller body like this as well. With this side strap, it just allows you to hold the camera a little bit looser without worrying about dropping it. It means that you can just rest your fingers a little bit between takes, for example. Now, you don't actually have to use it with the strap on the side. The entire right-hand side of the cage actually can come off, so you can just have a half cage if you wish, and that could be extra useful if you expect to be using this a lot on a gimbal, for example. Although it does have a very awesome built-in Arca Swiss mount into the cage, and that is really cool, not having to carry around or worry about bringing along your plates. The right hand side does get in the way if you want to slide it in onto a gimbal. The hand strap also does get a little bit in the way when placing it on a gimbal as well. It just makes it a little bit harder to balance, but not to the point where it's impossible. One thing that's really nice about this cage is it really doesn't get in the way of any of the ports. You can still open and access all of them without any problem, including the battery door. So although there's a slight recess down there, you can still access the battery down there without it being a big deal. The cage on the handle side as well is actually nice and smooth. That was the other concern I had, was that perhaps it would add a bit too much bulk to the cage or be uncomfortable in the hand when actually shooting with it. But the way they've actually shaped the cage and where they've smoothened off the edges, it isn't really a problem at all. It actually feels really nice in the hand. Having those extra mounting points on that side is also very handy if you need to do any vertical content. Another reason I went for the tilter cage is because you've kind of got two options whether you want to use it with the top handle that comes with the FX3 or without, and using a different top handle instead. Obviously, if you want to use the audio capability of the FX3 and the XLRs, for example, then you need to use that top handle. So this doesn't get in the way of that at all. It slots on no problem whatsoever, so you can still use the cage and the original top handle that comes with the FX3. However, if you do want to use a different top handle with the FX3, they have actually included a different top mount as well. This is quite nice because it doesn't attach to the rest of the cage. It just goes into the two screws that you normally would put the top handle into, but instead you put it onto there, and now suddenly you've got a NATO rail where you can attach your different top handles, or use one of the tilter ones which I've had from a previous camera cage, which slots on very nicely. Another cool accessory that the cage comes with as well is this very miniature Manfrotto plates, which are just attached to the bottom using to the two screws. So it's very secure when you put it on, but it's nice that you get this little miniature plate. Once again, it means that it's all just kind of built in, you don't have to worry about it, and it doesn't protrude from the front. It's really nice to have a plate where it doesn't, stick out and get in the way of using the lens, which is often the case when using small mirrorless cameras like the FX3. The final cool thing that the cage has built into it is this little screwdriver, so you can tighten up your screws on the cage. It just magnetically attaches to the bottom, so you don't have to worry about it coming off when out shooting. This is a really awesome cage for the Sony FX3. The fact it uses the FX3's mounting points to secure the cage on multiple points makes it probably one of the most secure and strongest cages you can get for pretty much any camera. It's something you don't see normally when you get a mirrorless camera, where they only have 1 or 2 points of contact or 2 points of actual screws into the cage to secure it. With this, you've got one on each side of the cage, as well as, of course, as the one on the bottom of the camera as well. This really does make the cage feel solid and part of the camera. It doesn't feel like an add-on accessory like you would often get on cameras in the past. And although maybe the FX3 doesn't need a cage to be able to use it well, personally I think this is a well worth upgrade that doesn't really cost that much money.